Yes, thanks for this. I just thought it might be an idea to try to put some pieces together to give people an overview. So this is slightly speculative, but I thought it might be interesting. So we change, I'm putting the hypothesis that we change away from burning waste to anaerobic digestion. What's the implications of doing this? So at the moment, residual or black-grey bin waste in Aberdeen is sent abroad for burning. This is residual waste is waste which has had the recycling materials removed. So it contains food waste, but what if we digested the food component instead of burning it? I've got here, and you can imagine this as a 1 ton wheelie bin, which would be a fairly large wheelie bin, but it makes it easier to visualize. So I just wonder if I can remove this top bar. Can you do that? No. Anyway, I'll live with it. So the loss of energy, if we go and burn food waste, this is a potential loss of energy. In your wheelie bin, this is UK data because the Scottish data has been hacked. So I've used UK data. So 29% of UK residual waste is food. And in Aberdeen, it'll be a bit less because we've got food collections. But the calorific value of this residual waste is reckoned to be 10 megajoules per kilogram. If we remove this food waste, which is 80% water, the CV, the calorific value, increases to 10.63 megajoules per kilogram. So if we cost this electricity at 8p per kilowatt hour, this is generated per ton of residual waste, that we increase the value of the waste by £4.90 per ton. So because we're not having to evaporate the water. Another question I thought I'd put over is why we see AD as being net zero carbon. So I thought I'd take it, if you've got an apple like this and it rots, it gives off CO2. If you put the same apple into an AD plant, an airtight container, it rots and it gives off methane. We then can burn this methane for heating or to generate electricity, and it gives off CO2, but this is the same amount of CO2 as if the apple rotted in the open. So fundamentally, we've gained an energy source without adding to CO2 output. So in the future, we just can't burn carbon fuels, but we can use anaerobically digested fuel. I wish I could get rid of this top bar. Is there any way of doing this? Oh, I've got it. Okay. What if we put the food waste in an AD plant? If we put our 290 kilograms of food waste in an AD plant instead of in an incinerator, we get about 87 kilowatt hours of heat energy from this, or £2.61 worth of gas at 3 pence per kilowatt hour. So this gas can be used, can be fed for home heating via existing town gas networks. And when you think of it, we've already got these gas networks, so they're already there, so we can utilize the existing network. At the moment, with our new EFW energy from waste plant, they're talking about installing hot water pipes from the plant to feed to houses. But in a way, we've already got these. If we use anaerobic digestion, we could use the gas pipes that are already there. The spent digestate from the digestion process has a fertilizer value of £1.22. one of the things in your bin that you notice that 8% of your ton is plastic film. So if these films were made from biodegradable materials like maize and put into an AD plant, they'll produce 270 kilowatt hours of energy, equivalent to £8.10 worth of biogas. That's the 3 pence per kilowatt hour. So this is a plant-based solution, which I think we're going to see increasingly more of in the future. As you may know, that some compostable films or biodegradable films don't biodegrade. I put any plastic biodegradable film I get, I put it into my compost bin, garden compost bin, which is just a low temperature composter. So this is things like Rohan pamphlet sleeve, that it comes in, vegware tray, vegware spoon, a Rohan publicity leaflet, a potato review, magazine sleeve, RSPB sleeve, and so on. Rollover bag. You can see here that every now and again I dig these up, and so within 7 months the Rohan sleeve had disappeared, and so on. The ones that had failed were the vegware spoon and this polybag, which is polybag.co.uk. I checked up with vegware and they say their materials are factory, suitable for factory style composting plant like Keenan's, that they compost at 70 degrees. But my, my local own things obviously don't go near that temperature. I think in future that they'll go and that most materials will break down at the low temperature, because if they go as litter, that's what you want them to do. You want them to degrade in ambient conditions, not necessarily to have to be taken up to 70 degrees C. So if we add up these prices, so we send 290 kilograms of food waste to the AD plant rather than the EFW plant, and we get an increase in energy from the compared to the EFW plant of £4.90. That's because we're not burning water. We get energy from the digestion of food waste. We get energy of digestion of biodegradable plastic film. If we're into that, that's £8.10. And then we get a fertilizer value for the spent digestate of £1.22. So that's a minimum of £8.73. If we have biodegradable waste, we've got £16.83. So we've got a benefit. The dilemmas with AD plant is that if you really want them near fields, that's why they're on farms. But also, they're best to be near towns if you want to use the gas. So there's a dilemma here. If you're far from the towns, you can only produce electricity or supply biogas fueled vehicles. So James's idea that you can produce biogas to run your tractors and lorry fleets and so on, I think is absolutely spot on and would be a good sort of use of the material. If the food waste goes to AD, it must be properly segregated by households. Robin showed the cans and things in his food waste. So these must be put into caddy bins like those used by Aberdeenshire Council. So this is what we need to do if we go more into AD. The question is, why are we building an energy from waste plant in Aberdeen? And I think the main thing that actually pushed that, or two main things, but the main thing was the Scottish government decided to ban food waste to landfill it was 2021, but now 2025. And so the waste company said, the population won't keep food waste out of residual waste, so this is the only option. And so they plumped for energy from waste, and they're still doing that. A lot of energy from waste plants have been built. I think the food waste collection from flats in Aberdeen into street bins, in my opinion, are not working well. You've really got to have a direct relation between the supplier of the waste and the receiver of the waste. And that's not the case in bins. Anybody can put any waste into a food bin in town. The alternative of this is to sort the food waste separation problem that the eventual move to AD will require. As far as the potential expansion of AD, hopefully this will cheer up James. The present UK production of biogas is 25 terawatt hours of energy. The present UK natural gas consumption is 876 terawatt hours, so huge difference. Now, if you look in Germany, their present production is 120, and their target is 155 to 265. We have about 2/3 the land area of Germany, so we could probably produce, since sun produces your energy, whether it's waste or rye, we can say produce 104 to 178 terawatt hours, which is 12 to 20% of our present natural gas consumption. So this is nothing not to be sniffed at. If we reduce our energy in houses and things, by say 50%, this percentage goes up a lot. So, we can still use gas in our houses to feed our gas boilers and things. But obviously not everybody can, but it will be an association to heat pumps and so on. So basic recommendations to finish off: put food waste to anaerobic digestion, give flats caddy bins for food waste, that is. Do a big public relations drive to keep food separate from residual waste. They did this in Canada. I visited Canada with Aberdeenshire Council, and we saw how well they did this. This was 1999, but sadly they didn't want to copy that in UK. Move to use of compostable films in supermarket packaging, and decommission the energy from waste plant by 2045 as burning produces CO2. At the moment, energy from waste companies are trying to get the government to allow burning of waste after 2045. So we'll see what happens to that. And the last thing, to move to a circular economy that encourages recycling and reuse. So thank you for that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you to all of our wonderful speakers.